this was all circulating around the base, that a giant had been killed, but no one was supposed to talk about it.
I saw 3 long, bony fingers reach up underneath the door, curl up to grab it, and then disappear.
When he came over to me, dude, he slithered over to me.
And this giant comes out of the cave, and they're all frozen. And he starts running and firing at this giant. Well, the giant moves. He's got a spear in one hand, and he's running really fast and spears Dan and holds him up like this. Somebody yells, shoot him in the face, shoot him in the face. They basically decapitate him.
Got closer. When he got about 15 yards away from me, I raised that 12 gauge and I blowed his head off.
I feel something pulling at my leg, and I look over and there are 2 small gray entities pulling at me. And they're literally, I'm getting pulled off the bed.
I reached my hand into this bush and I touched air. Couldn't breathe and I couldn't move because I know I'm seeing a monster.
Yep. Welcome to the show, everybody. You're listening to The Confessionals. I am your host, Tony Merkel. Thank you for being here. If you've had an encounter or a story you'd like to share with me on the show, go ahead and shoot me an email. My email address is theconfessionals@theconfessionalspodcast.com. That's theconfessionals@theconfessionalspodcast.com. Or go to the website, theconfessionalspodcast.com, hit the contact section, and you can reach me that way as well. Either way works for me. Just get a hold of me. And if you want to hear more shows every week, every Thursday we release a bonus show to members only on the website. So if you're interested in hearing more of The Confessionals every week, go to theconfessionalspodcast.com, hit the join button, and become a member today. And we are also offering emergency preparedness food. Listen, friends, I take it very serious. Me and my wife have always been semi-preppers, and then this year hit, and we decided to really kind of kick it up a notch and take it serious and really started prepping a lot, like we really, really do. And that's why we decided we were going to start offering emergency preparedness food to you as an audience, because I thought if I'm doing it because I take it that serious, I might as well offer it to the audiences as well. So all you got to do is go to preparewiththeconfessionals.com. That's preparewiththeconfessionals.com. And there you can get emergency supplies that last you up to 25 years shelf life. I'm talking about food. And if you get the 4-week supply of emergency preparedness food, we'll knock $100 off for you right there on the spot. And there's a lot of other good stuff on there other than food that you can get. So go ahead and check it out, preparewiththeconfessionals.com. And before we get into this week's episode with Jim, I want to let you guys know we are dropping, as of right now, we're releasing a new beard oil scent. We're offering it in beard oil, beard balm, and even wax melts. It is called Krampus for the Krampus holiday season, and it's going to be a seasonal thing, so it is going to be a limited edition, limited time offer. So if you're interested in getting some beard oil supplies, beard balm, and even wax melts that smell like Christmas, go to theconfessionalspodcast.com, hit the store page, and you'll see it right there in the beard oil section. And I hope you enjoy it because I know I do. I'm wearing it right now. Now let's get to Jim, because Jim is going to be sharing a lot of different paranormal type experiences he's had, but it seems like it's been an underlying issue with this dog that's been popping up. You see, he talks about seeing this wild, big dog in Alaska, and it seemed a little bit off. And then as he talks about other experiences, you kind of get the sense that there's this underlying issue here of this dog popping up that we kind of addressed throughout the interview. So let's get to Jim right now. All right, today we got Jim on the show. Jim, how you doing, man?
Oh, I'm doing pretty good. How are you doing?
I'm doing fine, man. Doing fine. So I want to let everybody know that, Jim, you were already on, not this podcast, but Hammer Lane Legends podcast, where you came on and shared your experiences of driving overseas for the military. Is that correct? Am I remembering that correctly?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, that's what I thought. And so that was a fun episode. I always enjoy talking to the guys who are in the military and stuff, whether it's, in transportation or just in general, hearing about their experiences and stuff, because I find it fascinating. And to be honest with you, sometimes I feel like I missed out on the boat kind of thing because I didn't go into the military when I really thought I was gonna, and I didn't. So I always enjoy hearing the stories from you guys. So I thank you for coming on the show for that one. Do you remember what episode that was, by the way?
Oh, I believe it was episode 6. I'd have to double check it and see.
Well, for the audience, he says probably 6. So why don't you just listen to all the show episodes and you tell me. So, but
it's somewhere between 1 and 13, right?
There you go. Yeah, we just dropped 13, so it's got to be one of the two. So, all right, Jim. So you have some experiences that you want to share that are more the paranormal angle, and last time we talked to you, we were overseas, and so I think we're going to pick up overseas. You had a very strange experience in Afghanistan where you saw some people disappear. What the heck happened?
Right. Well, when I was in the Army, I was a machinist, fabricator. So we had a lot of welders, a lot of generators, and everything that I've read, watched, they say spirits, ghosts, whatever you want to call them, they draw off of electromagnetic fields, whether it's batteries, equipment, stuff like that. Well, with all the generators and welders, my theory is that it created a bubble, just an overcharged bubble for these things to draw off of, because working in the shop, you'd be sitting there, we'd be working on a job at night, and you could swear you saw somebody walk behind you, and you could look and there's nobody there. There was one night that I was in there working, and I had just lifted up my welding hood, and walking in the big overhead door for the shop, there's 3 guys. They're walking, they're in uniform, they're just walking in. They get a little bit past our part of the building, and they just kind of phase out, I guess you could say. They go from looking like solid to like if you watch somebody walk away in the fog, kind of like that, like they just go out of visibility.
So do you think that they were just, do you think it was paranormal activity as in like the traditional ghosts that just appeared and disappeared kind of thing? Or do you think this was something that was more parallel dimension type of thing?
At the time, I looked at it more along the paranormal side. Just being where we were, we were in Afghanistan, we were in Kandahar. So there's a lot of stuff going on there. I don't remember if I had said in the Hammerlane Legends episode, but if we needed a part for a vehicle, we would cannibalize it. So we'd go to a vehicle that was blown up or no longer working, and we'd take parts. So, I don't know if something, if it was the paranormal side, if something was connected to something that was pulled off. Because we shared a maintenance facility with all the mechanics. So we had our corner of the shop that was set up for our fabrication shop. And then the rest of it was where they worked on the Humvees and the other trucks. So, if it was because you hear about spirits being connected to objects, like on the ghost hunter shows, they talk about stuff like that. And I guess there is a possibility that could be what was going on.
Yeah, I guess there's no real answer as to what it was, but it's definitely intriguing to hear about what you saw. I think if I saw something like that, I would think that it was probably paranormal at first as well. Did these characters look anything like translucent or anything like that, or did they look like just real dudes?
When I saw them, I mean, I thought it was guys walking through our shop because, where they're, I'm trying to think of how to word this. With as many vehicles as we had coming in and out of the shops, people would come in and out. It wasn't uncommon to see people walk through that you didn't recognize. So, like if you're in a civilian shop and there are just 3 random people walking through that you didn't recognize, more than likely they didn't belong there, and it would raise up some alarms, and you'd ask them, hey, why are you here? But over there, it was, they may have had a truck in there that was being worked on that they needed to go get some gear out of, or they needed to go talk to somebody else in the shop. There was no office to these shops. You'd go over and talk to the people that were working on your vehicle, and that was it. So it wasn't uncommon to see people you didn't recognize. So when I saw them, that's what I figured it was, until they got past our little area and they just kind of dissipated.
Jeez. Well, I mean, when you see it, were you scared or were you just more confused?
I don't want to say I was scared. More, I'd say I was confused. Like, what the heck was that type of thing? When we were overseas, there's a lot of stuff going on. With our jobs, a lot of our jobs were high priority, even the smaller jobs. So we didn't really have time to get hung up on stuff.
Yeah, it's a very much a go kind of situation.
Right.
I totally get that. So that happens in Afghanistan. Now, you had a very unique experience in Alaska. And it's something that you didn't initially put in the email. And right before we started recording, you started talking about it. I was like, no, I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it. Just wait until we start recording, because I hate hearing people's experiences, before we start recording and stuff, because I like sitting here and actually hearing it firsthand. And so why don't you talk to us about your experience out in the Alaskan wilderness?
Okay. So, when I was in the Army, I was stationed in Alaska. That's where I met my wife. She grew up there, and after I got out, we had moved up there to help her. Her dad had poor health, so we went up there to help him. And while we were up there, I figured I'd cash in my GI Bill and go take some college classes. And so when I was going to the college classes, when I was going to the university there in Juneau, me and some of my friends, we'd go hiking, we'd go see the area. It's beautiful country up there. It's it's close to being untouched. It's the whole city really is just set inside this amazing landscape. So there's hiking trails all over. And so we go down this hiking trail at night, and about 200 yards in this trail, walking in the trail, it'd be on your left-hand side. There's a clearing where there's no trees. It's just short grass. And coming in, I'd taken notice of the clearing, and we go past it, and about 3/4 of a mile to a mile down this trail, we come up to a bridge. And when we're standing at this bridge, and I have this gut feeling it would not be good for us to go over this bridge. And I could not bring myself to go over this bridge. And I'm looking, trying to figure out, see if there's something that I, kind of saw out of the corner of my eye that would raise some bells, something like that. And I couldn't really see anything. So I tell my friends that, if they can keep going if they want, but I'm going back to the car. From there, I'm gonna go ahead and turn around. And I guess they'd been having kind of the same feeling. So they turn around with me and we're walking back. Well, that clearing, when we get back up to it, it's on the right hand side of us now. And as we're coming up on it, I can see this mass in there. It's kind of the shape of a dog, kind of hunkered down, like it's kind of trying to hide, but not really. Like it's just, you can see the silhouette of it. You can't make out detail. It was very smooth. And as we get closer to it, I can start to kind of make out detail, make out where the head is as opposed to the body. I can kind of see the eyes. There was no like glowing eyes or anything like that, but I could see where it's looking. And the way we were walking, it was my friend Christian on the left-hand side of me. Then I was in the middle. And then my friend Darcy, she's on the right-hand side of me. Well, this, whatever it was watching her, it was watching Darcy. So I go and I move to the other side of her, just kind of out of instinct. I put myself on that side of the trail and keep them moving. And I asked them if they saw that. And they asked me if, saw what? Well, to them, they just saw an empty clearing. And the shape of the thing's head, it was the head was very dog shaped. It had the pronounced snout, the pointed ears. But whatever it was watching Darcy. And when I changed spots, it kept watching her and it watched us walk past. We get back in the car and we went back to the dorms from there.
What do you think it was?
The only thing that I've, any, oh man.
Don't be shy. You're on the Confessionals. We talk about weird things here. It's okay.
No, I know. When I was talking to them about it, I had described it as a hellhound because it, I would, for whatever reason I saw it, they didn't. I don't know why it was watching her, and it had 100% attention focused. It was not looking away. It was locked on. So I'm not sure. I don't know. I had done some looking up on stuff and going off of what it, the shape of it, the size is it was big. I'm not a big guy. I'm about 5'5.5" on a good day wearing shoes. And oh shoot, at the time I think I was weighing in about 230. And I was pretty big into lifting weights. I mean, I wasn't small, but I'm not a tall person, but I mean, it came up better part of 3/4 of my height. And, there's bears in the area, but if it was a bear, they would have seen it and its head was not shaped like a bear. The bears, their ears are more rounded. This had the very pronounced pointed ears. And its snout was not a bear's snout.
So, all right, you have this experience, and from what it sounds like, it was on all four, correct?
It was more in a laying position than on all fours. It wasn't standing.
So it was in a laying position, and it was that big?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So, like, how when an animal, whether it's a dog, cat, whatever, when they're stalking something, how they kind of hunker down.
Yeah.
Their back legs are cocked back. Their front legs are bent. And they're lower to the ground. That's about how it was standing.
Jeez. Yeah. that actually draws a picture really well as to the experience right there. That's huge. So, because I'm thinking to myself, well, maybe it was a wolf, and I was going to ask you, did it show any characteristics of being paranormal? Yeah, the massive size. The massive size was your key. Holy crap!
Well, that was the main thing that bothered me about it, was the sheer size of it, and that they didn't see it. They didn't react to it when I saw it. And when I asked them about it, they remembered looking in the clearing and they didn't see anything there.
So what do you think? What do you make of that? I mean, do you think this was an apparition or a very physical thing? I mean, people talk about the idea of Dogman being more of a supernatural being. Do you think that's a possibility here, or what?
I don't know a lot about the whole Dogman thing, but everything that I've heard is it's more upright. It's a more bipedal. I mean, I'm sure you've heard more about it than I have. To me, it seemed very physical. There was no, it wasn't like when I think of something not being very physical, I think of it being kind of translucent, almost having that like a shimmer to it, like how people describe the Predator shimmer. I've seen I've seen things kind of like that where there's something there, but at the same time, it's not there. But this didn't have that. This was it looked very solid to me.
Interesting. Very interesting. And it never moved or anything. It stayed hunkered down.
Yeah. I mean, it stayed in the position that it was in. It moved its head, tracking our movement. Its head stayed with us through our pace.
And how far were you from it, roughly?
Oh, I'd say between 30 and 40 feet.
Oh, that's really close. That's really close.
Yeah, it's closer than I cared to be.
Yeah, I mean, in one leap, it's right there with you.
Oh, yeah. So, wow. But, I mean, I just kind of, after I asked them, do y'all see that over there? And they said no. I said, well, let's pick up the pace. Let's get on back to the car. No, I think we need to get home.
Yeah, they say no, you say good, but let's get moving. So, yeah. Holy cow. Wow, that's crazy. So do you think that that's something, is there a possibility that maybe you imagined it, or do you think it was something that was just on a paranormal level? I mean, clearly if they didn't see it and it was that big, there's something paranormal was going on.
I mean, I guess with any of this type of stuff, there's always the chance that it was in my head. There is that chance. But with things that I've seen in the past, I have a kind of an open mind about it, and I don't know. It's hard to articulate what I'm trying to say. I feel like it was that there was something to it. Whether it was physical or not physical, I feel like there's a reason that I was able to see it and they weren't. I'm sure if there was something there, I'm sure there's a reason why they were not able to see it and I was. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. And
okay.
I mean, I lean towards the idea that, I mean, unless it was in your head, which only you would know maybe, but I mean, if it was right. If it was really there, I mean, it seems like it's a paranormal thing because of the fact that nobody else saw it. Yeah. So, I mean, and I don't know if you would take comfort in that or not. I mean, it's like, well, at least there wasn't a giant dog there to chomp my head off. But at the same time, there's a giant dog appearing that was just appearing. And to you, I should say. But it is interesting that, I've said this before on the show, but, I've noticed a trend of these dogs popping up in paranormal situations where I wouldn't say it was your classic dog man situation where it's walking on two legs out in the woods or something like that, but like a lot of times like these dogs are popping up in people's homes and just very paranormal type experiences, but with a dog. And maybe you had a similar experience as to some of these people, and when it comes to this dog-like entity popping up.
Right. Well, and I don't know if you remember me talking about the friend of mine that was really tall when we were talking last time.
Not offhand.
Okay, well, in high school he was around 6'8", give or take a little bit. Now he's significantly taller than that. I don't think he's hit 7 foot, but I mean he's close to it. Well, right after I got out of high school, we spent a lot of time hanging out. And my mom and dad, they've got a decent chunk of land. Well, I had just taken a bunch of old food scraps out to the back of the field, and just vegetable peels, stuff like that. We go dump it in the back of the field for the birds and the pigs, whatever's out there. And I had driven out there, and I dump out this bowl of food scraps, and the back, it's 1 mile all the way around the property. From the gate, you go all the way around the property and back to the gate. That's 1.2 miles. So I'm on the back stretch of fence, about halfway down it, and I start getting this feeling in my stomach. It feels like somebody grabbed a hold of my stomach with their fist and they're just twisting it. And the further down I go, the worse it gets, to the point where I can't go any further. Well, the bowl that I had, it was one of my mom's nice Pyrex big bowls, or a big Pyrex mixing bowl. And it's one of those dishes that if you break it or you lose it, something like that, you're going to be in some pretty serious trouble. So I just take the whole thing, I toss it out the window of my truck. I turn around and I take off back to the house, with every intention of never going back for that bowl. As I'm getting back, I think my speedometer was right around 65 miles an hour coming down that side stretch of road down the property. And my buddy, he comes driving in, he's coming to hang out. And he sees the dust cloud coming up behind me. And he asked, what's going on? And I told him. Well, he grabs his shotgun out from behind his seat of his pickup, and he jumps in the bed of my truck. And he said, well, go over there. Let's see what's going on. So we go back up there, and about the same spot where I threw the bowl, he starts banging on the roof of the truck saying, dude, you need to let me in. We need to get out of here. And I don't know if he had seen something or if he was just getting the same feeling that I had gotten before, but he did not want to be there. So we take off and we get back to the house. I had some chores around the property to get done, feeding animals, I think fixing some fence. Well, that night, another one of our friends comes over, and we're putting CB radios in. I think we were putting it in my truck, and the friend that had gotten there after, the one that jumped in the bed of the truck. We were putting CB radios in our trucks, and our other friend, he shows up. He's helping us out. Well, me and the friend that had already experienced this, we start getting this feeling like we're being watched. And we look in the back of the field. It's nighttime. Like it's right at the edge where there's almost no light left from the sun, but it's like the sun had just gone down below the horizon, so you could still kind of see the silhouette of the fence line. And we could see something going back and forth down this fence line. And he told me, hey, this thing's over there. And I've always been kind of a scientific minded person. So I told him, well, don't tell Critter, or the other friend, we call him Critter. Don't tell him, and we'll see what he says. Well, as time progresses, he starts getting more anxious, a little bit agitated. Something's bothering him. Well, finally he goes, dude, I just, something doesn't feel right. And so we told him, at that point, we told him what's going on. And we hop in my truck, and I aim the headlights at that back fence. And the shape that was coming towards us was a very similar shape to what I saw in Alaska. So, as far as the size goes and the shape of it, it starts running towards my truck. And whenever I would turn on the headlights, when an animal stops, it kicks up that dust.
Yeah.
So whenever I turn on my headlights, you'd see that dust kick up. So the headlights would scare it. It would stop. I'd turn them back off, give it a second, and turn it back on. And it had covered a good amount of distance. But yeah, I don't know how much distance, maybe 20 yards or so. But I did that a few times until it was close enough where I didn't want to see what would happen if it got to the truck. So I left the headlights on and we run to the house. And, we kind of let it calm down. I guess it went and did whatever it was going to do. And then we went and started driving around town, messing with our radios, and didn't really think much about it after that. But having seen that, that's what kind of makes me think it's more not in my head as far as the one in Alaska goes.
Well, yeah. So that, I mean, at least, wow. I would have been terrified. How big do you think this thing was when it was running towards you?
Oh, man. The field, it had a lot of scrub brush. And the only time that I was really able to see it was when it was by the back field, or by the back fence of the field. Because that the whole property is, if you're standing at the gate, it's a complete incline, like going uphill the whole way up to the back fence of the property. So if you're sitting at the workshop, you could look and see the back fence. But something that's like covering ground, the brush was tall enough where you wouldn't be able to see me walking through the brush. Like, I don't know if that makes sense.
Okay. Well, it sounds terrifying, and it sounds like you guys were terrified too. That's why you ran away.
Oh, yeah.
And it really sounds interesting comparing it to your Alaskan experience, because, all right, so other people saw it as well this time around. And so, it's so hard because you were in Alaska and nobody saw it except for you. And this time a bunch of people saw it. So do you think maybe it could be two different things that you experienced that just ironically are similar?
Well, and that's kind of what I'm leaning towards now. Like, looking at a lot of the stuff that's happened, I tried, like in the past, I've tried connecting all of this stuff. And a lot of it, I don't think there's any connection. I think it's just isolated incidents. But I think I'm more sensitive to things than other people. So when I see, I don't know if it's that I'm more open to it. Like maybe I pay more attention to seeing these things, but I'm leaning more towards that I'm more open to seeing it. And that's why I see things in different places, not necessarily that these things are connected.
So, okay. So you're more open to seeing these things. I just don't understand why one group of people see it and the other don't. It's just very interesting. Very, very interesting. I don't want to dwell on this though. Well, we have more stuff to get to, and I could spend all day just trying to.
Something like this, it doesn't fit our narrative. So when we see it, our brain filters it out. So, like, you could see something right there in front of you. Like, it's like when you're looking for your car keys. You look all over the house, but you end up finding them in a spot that you've looked at 15 times. It's just for whatever reason you didn't see it.
Yeah. So I'm trying to follow your line of thought there with that. So you're saying that it's just like more of a situational kind of thing as to whether people see it or not?
More, I lean more along the lines of whether you're able to accept it psychologically or not.
Okay.
Because I think some of this stuff, if some people, if they were to acknowledge that some of this is real, I think it might break their psyche. You know, they're really very narrow-minded. They're very focused on, this is the way this world works. There's no chance that anything outside of this is even possible. But, you know, like with what the scientists are looking at now with the possibilities of parallel dimensions, or, you know, they're saying there are parallel dimensions, I think, is where they're at right now. But they're trying to figure out ways to look into it. 5 years ago, if you said that, you'd be a crackpot.
Yeah.
So, but I think that's kind of what it is if it's outside of what you think is normal, a lot of people are not able to accept it, because your brain operates on a delay. As minimal of a delay as it is, there's still a delay, and your brain fills in gaps. So like when you blink, or when you look from one spot to another really fast, your brain fills in these gaps with what it thinks should be there. So I feel like if you see something that's not supposed to be there, if you're not focused on it, you're not going to see it. Like your brain just won't accept that it's there.
That does make sense, because I know there's a lot of psychological things that go into this that you know, are precursor to the experience. I mean, so it really depends on, you know, how the person is set up into the situation as to what they experience.
Right.
So you and your wife and your oldest son lived in a house that had some pretty bizarre experiences. You want to go into that?
Yeah, I can go into that. So the house that you're talking about, we lived there, maybe 6 months or so before my son was born. You know, so we had time to set his room up and, you know, get situated, ready for, you know how it is getting ready for a new baby.
Yep, doing it now.
You know, there's a lot of prep work. Well, we get everything set up. When we initially looked at this house, the main reason we picked it is because it was a 3-bedroom, and one of the bedrooms, I had every intention of it being kind of a game room, you know, having it set up as kind of a second living room, just somewhere, I guess, kind of like a man cave, just somewhere where you could go relax, hang out, stuff like that, you know. That way, if we had a get together, you know, my wife and her friends could be in the main living room, and me and my buddies, we could go in there and us not bother each other, type of thing, you know. So after we moved in, it got to a point where I couldn't go in that room. I'd walk into that room and I'd start to get dizzy. And there were a couple times where I'd walk in and start to try to do something, and I would have to crawl out of the room because I would be so dizzy. Well, the way this house was, it was that bedroom was at the back of the house. Then there was a bathroom, and then it was the bedroom that we had set up for my son. Well, the floor in that bedroom for my son, it was a linoleum floor. And after he was born, you know, we had the baby monitor, and, you know, we had the whole, you know, all the new parent stuff. You know, we had it all set up. It was good to go. We'd be laying in our bed on the other side of the house, and You know the sound that it makes when you walk on a hard floor with a leather-soled shoe,
Sure.
like a pair of cowboy boots or something like that, where it's a very prominent heel toe, but it's that kind of sharp click as you're walking. We would hear that noise over the baby monitor of somebody walking around in his room. So we'd go in there and we'd check, and there would be nobody there. But it happened several times, and at the time I was an electrician's apprentice, and I was working on one of the bases, the military bases here. We were putting up it was a dental hospital. It was a big facility just for dentistry, and our day started, like, we had to be tools moving, working at 7 a.m. Well, we lived about an hour away, so I'd leave the house about 5:30 so that I could get there, get to the area that I was going to be in. We'd do our pre-shift meeting, talk about what all needed to be done, and be ready to go as soon as 7 o'clock hit, so we'd be able to be working. Well, I'm walking onto the job site. What was it? About 6:30-ish, a little bit after 6:30. And my wife calls my cell phone asking if I came home for something. And I told her no. And I asked her why. She said, well, somebody just yelled in the house, is anybody home? And when she went and looked, the door was still locked. Everything was still, everything was just like it was when I left. And our nearest neighbor was maybe a half mile away. I mean, it was a good distance. We lived in the middle of a field. So it's not somewhere that you get to our house by accident. But there was nobody there. And so that freaked her out a little bit. Well, a little bit after that, she went back up to Alaska. She took Slade, our son, up to Alaska to go see her parents and go visit for a little bit. And it was a Saturday morning, and I was going to sleep in. Well, I hear somebody walk through the house from that back bedroom, all the way through the house, through the hallway, through the living room, through the kitchen, and down the hallway to the bedroom door, to our bedroom door. Well, the bedroom door kind of creaks open a little bit, not much, just enough to where you could hear it. And then you hear footsteps in the bedroom, and then you can feel the weight of somebody sit down on the bed.
And this is while you were in the bed.
I was in the bed. Yeah, I was planning. I had every intention of sleeping in that day.
Not anymore.
No, definitely. I was definitely awake at that point.
Wow. I've had friends and family say similar things to me where they felt something or someone sit at the bottom of the bed. And I've never had that experience, but I can't imagine how unnerving it is, because when you're in your bed, it's like that's your comfort zone. It's where
that's your safe place.
Yeah, it's like you're supposed to be able to hide underneath the covers and everything's fine, and then you have something that you can't see sitting on the bed on top of the covers. It's like something doesn't belong here. So
yeah,
wow.
Well, at that same house, I think we kind of talked about it a little bit before we started recording. That's the same house that one of my friends, whenever he would come over, he did not like being outside after dark, because there were oak trees that surrounded the house. Well, you'd be standing out there. He smoked cigarettes, so he'd want to go outside. Well, we had a motion sensor light on the front of the house. He would not go outside of that light. And about every minute or so, he'd wave his hands at that light to make sure that it stayed on. Because those trees that were right at the edge of the light, if you sat there and watched them, you could see a figure poke out behind the tree, like it's looking at you and just kind of watching you. And that was every time we were out there, we'd see that.
Every time?
Every time.
So you're talking, if I'm understanding you correctly, you're saying that like this wasn't broad daylight, right?
No, this was at night.
Okay.
But the light on the front of the house, it would light up our yard.
Yeah.
Because the field that we lived in, the yard around the house, it had a barbed wire fence around it to keep the cattle out of the yard for the house. Outside of that fence were the big oak trees. I mean, if you went to put your arms around them, you wouldn't be able to touch fingers on the other side. I mean, they were big. But you could see, and it wasn't just one tree, it wasn't just one figure. I mean, you'd see one behind one tree, and while you're watching that one, you'd see another one on the other side of the yard, down the fence line a little bit, poke its head over there. And I mean, it was a very prominent thing that we would see.
Jeez. And so, I mean, do you think this was something paranormal or something physical? Do you think this was a monster or a spirit or what?
This one, that house, it was 1 mile away from this church that was at the end of the road. Like it's Black Creek Church, and about a half mile away from that is Black Creek Cemetery. And ever since I can remember, you know how you have your little hometown ghost stories?
Oh yeah.
One of ours in this area is that church is a portal to hell.
Well, that's not good.
No. Now, I don't know. I don't necessarily believe that, but I do think that there's a lot of stuff that happens in that area that would lead people to think that. We lived there right after I got out of the Army, out of active duty. So we lived there, and so I was still running on a regular basis. Well, from our driveway to the corner where that church was, it was 1 mile exact. So I would run from our driveway. I'd walk down the driveway, then I would start my run. I'd run down to the end, turn around, and come back. And by the time I got back, I'd hit my 2 miles. One of the times that I was running, I had my iPod. I had my earbuds from my iPod in, and I'm running. And about waist height in the brush line on the left-hand side of the road, I could see a head kind of poke out of the brush and watch me as I go past it. And the first time I saw it, I didn't think anything of it. But once it was out of my peripheral vision, I see it pop up about 100 yards in front of me, the same way it had the first time. It pokes out, and it would watch me run past it. And as soon as it's out of my peripheral vision, it would pop up 100 yards in front of me. And the best description of that face, have you ever seen a Damascus goat?
No, I have not.
It's interesting. I was talking to a buddy of mine about these goats today. They're bred to be ugly.
Those really nasty looking ones that have like a big giant forehead.
Yeah, it looks like their face is melting off of their skull.
Yes, I didn't know what they were called.
Yeah, its face was very similar to that, like the way it was shaped. And like I said, if it had happened once, I wouldn't have thought anything of it. But for it to happen, I run past it, and as soon as I'm not able to see it anymore, it pops up in front of me again. And it did that the whole way down this road. For, I'd say, the better part of 3/4 of a mile.
Well, that's a really ugly thing to be seeing while you're jogging.
Well, needless to say, I never ran that route again.
No, I would say not. I mean, if I were you, I'd just stop going outside. Okay, so I would just stay inside and Netflix and chill for a while. So
Right.
My Lord.
I don't know. Like, I know y'all on your show, you've talked about generational stuff before.
Yeah.
My oldest son, the night that my older brother, he passed away back in 2012. He was in a house fire and he wasn't able to get out. He passed away. About a half hour, I was living in Alaska when that happened. My oldest son, I think he was maybe 2.5 years old. If that. I think he was going on 2 years old. He was old enough to talk, but like you could understand what he was trying to get across to you, but it wasn't like real well. So I was sitting there, I was playing Xbox, and I hear him get up out of his bed. And so I went to check on him, and he's staring at the corner of his room. He's just standing there staring at the corner of his room. And I asked him, what's going on? And he said, Uncle Matt said that everything is going to be okay.
That's that would be disturbing if I heard my kids say that. How'd you feel?
Well, a half hour after that, I got the phone call.
Oh, so you didn't even know yet?
No, I didn't even know.
Wow. I guess he came and visited your son?
That's the way it seems to me.
How does that make you feel?
I think it makes me feel pretty good about it, about that. In the short amount of time that they had together, they were, he was real close. Me and my brother, we had a really close relationship as it was. Even with me living in Alaska, we'd talk every day. We'd talk on the phone every day. I had talked to him earlier that day, and he was actually fixing the roof on my grandparents' house that day, and he was going to call me back that evening, but he never got the chance. But everything he did was for other people. He was all about helping his friends, his family, and anytime we would take my son over there, he would come over to our house. You just see his face light up. My brother's face and my son. They were close. They had a good relationship with each other. So I feel like there was he was coming over to say, everything is going to be good to go. It's okay. So
yeah.
But then my youngest, I didn't see this myself, but my wife had said he's sitting on the couch one day, staring down towards his chest, laughing, and he's just saying, it's coming up out of my chest. And she said it was like he was describing like a light coming up out of his chest. And he describes things like that, not so much anymore, but he used to say stuff like that pretty frequent.
Jeez, that's a little disturbing, don't you think?
Yeah.
I mean, if there's light coming out of his chest, like, why?
I don't.
Ay. Dude, you got some interesting stories, my man. Holy cow. Holy cow. Listen, you are, you were talking, we were talking beforehand and we were going over some of the stuff, that we were going to be talking about. And you said about your childhood and how you had shadow people experiences. Was that something that was a regular thing in your childhood?
It was regular enough for me to take notice of it. You know, the house that we lived in a 2-story house, and any house that has stairs in it, you know, there's those, like, you get to where you know the sound of the stairs. Depending on what sound comes up, you can tell where somebody's at on the staircase. My bedroom was right at the top of those stairs, and at night, you know, I'd hear the progression of the sounds. Like, I wouldn't hear the foot, like a foot making contact with the stair, but I'd hear those progressions of sounds that the stairs made when you put pressure on them. Like,
Right.
does that make sense? Like, I wouldn't hear the impact of a foot with the stair, but I'd hear the stair compress.
Yeah.
Okay. So when I'd hear that, I'd look out and I would see, you know, I could see a shadow of a person on the stairs, but that one, it never seemed, it was just more something that was just there. It didn't seem like there was a purpose to it. It was just something that was happening.
I feel like when people are kids and stuff, they're more susceptible and they're more open to experiences and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I wonder sometimes if it's just the lack of life experience that allows us to consume things and retain it. Because like, if like, it's not like you were that old, you know, so you didn't have a whole lot of life experience. So like those kind of things stuck out to you.
Right.
And as time goes on and stuff, life picks up and you're just not really focused in as much as to the small details.
Yeah. That would make sense to me.
So I'm assuming there's more you experienced.
Yeah. At that house, this particular incident, I was actually in middle school. I think I was in 7th grade. We had a dog. He was a boxer, and oh man, I was maybe 5 when we got him. Well, he had gotten sick and he died. And the night that he had died, I was downstairs watching TV. You know, it was a weekend or something. I was staying up late watching TV. Well, for the past 2 days, the dog we'd had to feed him with a turkey baster. Like, we'd have to blend up the food with water and basically force feed him because he didn't have the energy to get up and move. And I was getting ready to go upstairs to go to bed, and I look at the big sliding glass door in our dining room, and he's standing there at the door, you know, wanting to play. But it didn't look like him. It looked like, you know how when you're looking at a window and you see your reflection in the window?
Yeah.
How it's very translucent. Like, you can tell it's a reflection. It's not a physical person standing on the other side of that window that you're seeing. That's what this looked like. It didn't look like he was standing there. It looked like he was on the inside of the window facing out, and I was seeing his reflection.
Interesting.
And then the next morning, we were getting ready to go to school, and my brother went out there to go check on him, and he had come in and told me, hey, you know, don't go back there. Don't go, you know. He told me not to go back there. Me being a curious kid, you know, little brother, I'm not, you know, whatever. I went back there, and sure enough, he had passed away that night before. I don't know what time, but I'm assuming it was before I saw him, because it did not look like a physical dog on the other side of that window.
So I'm noticing a trend of dogs here in your life.
Yeah, I've always had a connection with animals. I've always loved animals. I've always had them around. So I don't know if it's something to do with that.
I don't know. I mean, a lot of people love animals.
Well, growing up, one of the things about when I was growing up, if we wanted a pet, we were allowed to get it. It didn't matter what it was. I've had everything from snakes, tarantulas, scorpions, iguanas, geckos, sugar gliders, ferrets, pretty much any animal that doesn't cost an arm and a leg to get a hold of and is legal to have in the United States, we've had it as a pet.
Jeez.
But one of the stipulations that my parents would put on it was we have to know how to take care of it. So we would have to do our research, know what it's going to eat, know how to take care of it, know what it's, if it takes an aquarium, we need to know what to have in the aquarium with it, that type of thing.
You reminded me of the Tiger King, man.
I don't know about that.
Anything and everything. If it's legal, we got it.
Oh, man.
Too funny, man. Listen, I think there's something I'm not obviously not connecting the dots, but it definitely feels like there is a trend with the animals, the dogs in your life, more so than most people. And so, very interesting stuff. And I don't know what to make of some of it, because sometimes it's physical and other people see it. Sometimes it seems physical, but nobody else sees it. But one thing's for sure, it's very interesting. And dude, thanks for sharing.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Well, that's the show, everybody. I really hope you enjoyed it. And if you did enjoy it, please go ahead and share the show. I don't care where you share the show or how you share the show. Just share the show if you enjoyed it, because that's the best thing you can do to help the show grow. And if you feel so inclined, go to your podcast playing app, whichever one you listen to, and look around and see if there's a way to rate and review the show on there. You can go ahead and do that and help the show out as well. If you hate me and you hate the show, though, please stay away from the rating and review section, because, well, that's just mean to leave 1-star reviews and nastiness. So I appreciate your courtesy and just moving along. Well, until next week, friends, stay safe, take care, and remember, the truth will set you free, but first it'll piss you off.
Just feeling probably like you. I'm just drifting, probably right beside you. All the abyss, control from afar. What did we miss? Now we're left with the scars. We love the lows but hate the highs. Is the other side of the sun. With all this glow, it's hard to hide. It's bright. We love the lows but hate the highs. Is the other side of the sun. With all this dark, it's hard to find. It's bright. Everybody wanna preach a happy median. I see they dopamine fix come from media. Now your spirit getting booked on Expedia. Soul searching like Long Island Medium. I should've been taught. Sleepwalk through life, but being woke is an insult. They should've been caught. They want us flooded in fear by drowning us on the asphalt. We love the lows but hate the highs. Is the other side of the sun. With all this glow, it's hard to hide. It's bright. We love the lows but hate the highs. Is the other side of the sun. With all this dark, it's hard to find. It's bright. Masking from elites, got us attaching what is free. Now we're rationing our needs for our soul. Yeah, we're not fasting from belief. The smell of Sharpies right the streets, looting liabilities like it's gold. Atomic number 79, Gucci, Prada, Jordan high. Sniff that line, it's on the house till you're sold.
The ones that keep us locked for the felony time, or the ones that fund the dollars for the BLM sign. Y'all ain't really doing what y'all supposed to. Y'all just follow suit like the rest do. Oh, yeah. We love the lows but hate the highs.
Is the other side of the sun.
With all this glow, it's hard to hide.
It's bright.
We love the lows but hate the highs.
Is the other side of the sun.
With all this dark, it's hard to find.
It's bright. Is the other side of the sun. It's bright. It's bright.
We love the lows but hate the highs.
Is the other side of the sun.
With all this dark, it's hard to find.
It's bright.
Hey, thanks for watching the Confessionals on YouTube. If you like what you heard, hit the subscribe button, hit the share button, and hit the like button. That would be a great help to me. And if you want more of the Confessionals on a weekly basis, every Thursday I come out with a special show just for members on my website. So if you want to check that out, go to theconfessionalspodcast.com, hit the join button, and become a member today. And every Thursday, you'll get a new show, and you can binge on previous shows, which there's almost 100 of them. So if you love the show, go ahead and check it out. But thank you very much for being here on YouTube and checking out the channel.